Morning folks, doing my morning walk. If you're an entrepreneur and you feel alone, I'm here to tell you, you're doing it wrong. Now, I've got some advice for anyone out there that is an entrepreneur that feels alone, and I hope you find it useful. Gonna go on a walk this morning with my dog.
Hey, dogs. Do you like dogs? Thanks.
And I'll share these insights with you during my walk. The first tip I'll give you is just a general bit of insight. Get a dog.
What?
Yeah, dogs.
Dogs. Do you like dogs?
Dogs are the best thing in the world. And don't just get a dog, adopt a dog. Never shop, only adopt.
Oh, dogs. Sure. I like dogs.
But come with me this morning and I'll give you a few more tips that might make your life better. Come on, let's go. Now there are really 5 things I'd like to suggest to you today to help you improve your entrepreneurial experience. And I've learned these lessons the hard way. Now I know what it's like to be an entrepreneur and to feel alone. It's not easy when you're building a business or starting a business or growing a business or dealing with a business during a time like coronavirus, because there you are having to deal with all the different needs of your staff and your team. Okay folks, I was 3 minutes outside, realised it's freezing cold. The sun went in as soon as I went outside, so don't need these and I need to put on a bigger coat. So life lesson, if it's cold outside, wear a thicker coat. So I'm just going to quickly change and I'll get back to the content that I promised you. 1 second. So as I was saying before the sun went in and it got freezing cold and I needed to go back and get a jacket, was that I know what it's like to be alone as an entrepreneur. And it is not easy to understand how to get out of it. But I have figured out what's important when it comes to this problem, and I'm going to share it with you. Now the first thing to say is that you might not even realise that you feel alone. Maybe you haven't even clicked on this video because you don't think you're alone, you don't feel alone. But that system of being an entrepreneur, running the business, being in charge of everything, can sometimes just feel like the way it is. But it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to feel alone. So let me give you some tips on how you can fight back and ensure you get what you need out of life. Now sometimes, as an entrepreneur, you feel like you're just picking up shit. That's all you're doing all day, picking up shit. You're no longer doing the thing you love. You're no longer working in the way that got you into the business in the first place. Does that sound familiar? I know that happened to me many times. I started a business that I loved that involved marketing and selling. And what did I end up doing? Accounts and contracts. So my first tip for you folks out there that perhaps aren't enjoying what you're doing anymore, or starting a business and not quite sure how to make sure that it's not all on your shoulders, is be sure that you're actually enjoying what you're doing every day. Even if it's your own business, you can end up not doing what you love. So my first tip is just assess what it is exactly you love and make sure you get back to it. That'll be the beginnings of the road to ensuring you don't feel alone, because you'll be able to focus on the things that you love and hopefully network with the people that love that too and end up being happier. Tip number 2 folks, come on, let's keep going. Got to get rid of this shit. Okay folks, point number 2. If you really want to feel less alone, start giving. Now one example of what I mean is, consider being a mentor. I find that being a mentor gives you not only perspective, because you hear other people's problems, other people's issues, and it kind of raises your own awareness of perhaps how lucky you are or how your position is interesting in its own right, and gives you perspective on your own situation. But not only do you give back by mentoring and help someone, but I found that when I mentor, I get so much back from the people that I mentor. It becomes almost like I frankly feel often that I've learned more from the person I'm mentoring than I've given. And so it's giving back, but you get so much. And I think that it's helped me feel less alone when I've mentored. So that's it. Tip number 2, folks. Come on, let's keep going on the walk.
This is far from the end. You're gonna get back for more. All this silence, dear old friend. Come to.
Tip number 3, folks. Get a co-founder. You'll be amazed the difference it makes. There's so many people out there that can help you. You don't need to be doing this on your own. And you might be thinking, hey, but if I share it, I get half the profits. But you also get half the pain. The sun's come out. Now it's getting interesting.
Ooh, this is far from the end. You gotta get back for more. Ooh, this is far from the end.
Now, let's talk about the co-founder bit just for a moment. I mentioned getting a co-founder, and I know for a lot of people out there that might already have a co-founder, there's definitely no perfect situation. I've had co-founders in most of the businesses, or partners in most of the businesses that I've started, and the benefits were really that companionship, that ability to build something with someone. It's a bit like, I guess, being single versus being in a relationship. Having a co-founder or having a relationship isn't for everyone, but if you get it right, the rewards can far outweigh the cost. Now, I always think that co-founders should also be equal, personally. So whether it's an equity equal or voice equal, and if you do it, then you will always have someone that you can share the honest truth with, which I think is one of the big problems with being an entrepreneur. You often feel like you're having good days and you're having bad days, but when you have a bad day, you feel like you can't really go home and tell your life partner about it because you don't want them to worry, or they already maybe feel like there's a risk being an entrepreneur and you don't want them to be concerned that there might be a problem. So who do you share it with? It can't be your team. Again, you're also the leader. They want to hear inspirational things from you. Hope, the vision is working, the business is working. That's what people want to hear so that they don't feel worried. But a co-founder can be that person that understands the numbers like you do, or understands the trouble. And what I've seen with co-founder relationships, if you get it right, is that there can be days when, you know, I for example, there was days when I was really excited about the business that I was in, and then there was other days when I wasn't sure and I had doubts, and hopefully, and I found this quite often, the co-founder would have an opposite feeling to me that day, or take the opposite position and talk me out of the negative feeling that I might have, or the concern that I might have, and it created a nice dynamic where you didn't feel alone. So I think co-founder is certainly something worth considering, and if you don't have this with your present co-founder, this might sound hard, but consider changing. It's just like a relationship. Find a co-founder where you feel comfortable sharing, being truthful, being honest with each other, being open, improving each other's skills, improving each other's ability to run the business. If you get it right, it can be magic. Let's keep going. Idea number 4, folks. Consider getting yourself an entrepreneurial friend. Now, I know that sounds a bit sad, another entrepreneurial friend, but if anyone's going to understand what you're going through every day, it's going to be another entrepreneur. You might find that getting a bit of help from an entrepreneur can actually relieve a lot of the pressure. I found over the years, weirdly enough, even my competitor entrepreneurs became friends. We understood the industry together. We understood the problems of the industry we were in together. We could share, once we became friends, honestly how we felt about clients, about the process, about what we were doing. And so I found it to be liberating to have other entrepreneurial friends. I know it's not easy to make friends. Ultimately, if you're both entrepreneurs, you have a common understanding of what it's like to be one. And joining forces and hanging out once a week, having a chat about problems that you're both experiencing with a kind of underlining promise that you will keep it confidential, I think is a real valuable thing to consider. I mean, I remember in my last company writing down 10 people that I really respected in business, and I basically asked them to be my mentor. Now, I think a mentor relationship is a friendship, so you've got to have a respect there. But if you can find a mentor, friend, entrepreneur, companion, it can make a huge difference. So that's tip number 4, folks. And next one is tip number 5, the final one. I hope you like it. Let's see. I'm not sure this is a good clip. Let me know, Connor. The final point I'll make is that quite often as entrepreneurs we create our own prison, and I feel like in my own personal business experience often we've got the keys to unlock the door to our own prison but we don't use. Example of what I mean is that sometimes people's journeys are so tough. Maybe they're having a bad month on the cash flow, or they're having a difficult time sustaining the business this month, but people don't want to talk about it. They keep it bottled up, and that creates this tension. And I think the best way to deal with your problems is share them. There's a saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. I really believe that to be true. There's another element of the prison that we create for ourselves, and I've done it. I remember my agency business, Fluid. I ran that business for maybe 9 coming up to 10 years and absolutely loved it. And at year 10 I just started to hate it, to be honest. It just wasn't right anymore for me. I didn't enjoy it anymore. But in my mind, because I had built it from scratch and I'd been running it for 10 years, I just didn't feel like there was anyone else that could run it. I convinced myself that for the rest of my life I was going to have to run this business. It's a bit like just accepting that you're going to be in prison for 20 years. And so you just come to terms with it. The pain's there, but you've learned to suppress it, manage it, and move on. And my business partner, who later became my wife in Fluid, she did the opposite. She felt the pain, didn't like it anymore, and she quit. Now at the time, I remember feeling disappointed that she decided to quit, leaving me to run it on my own. But later I came to realize that she was very wise. She was very brave. She gave up the power and the glory and the control, all the things that I thought were just part of the job and not the reason I was doing the job. And she gave it all up to go and pursue what she wanted to do. And it took me about 3 years to catch up with her smart way of thinking and realize that her way was the right way. It was no longer my time to run this business, so I brought someone else in to run the company. I unlocked the door and I set myself free from the prison. In fact, the person that came along to run the business after me did an even better job than I did. And in part because they were fresh blood. They were, actually I brought someone in who was very experienced, and frankly I started the business with no experience. That's what entrepreneurs often do, but this person came in with experience. They did a better job than me. And so sometimes we create a trap for ourselves where we feel alone, we have to do it all on our own, and you know what, a lot of it is in our own mind. We're as free as we want to be, and sometimes we create this environment where we make ourselves important, we make ourselves the center of it all, and then we complain when we feel alone. But the truth is, we all have the ability to break free, to live the life we want, to do the right thing, to be the person we want to be. But we have to also let go of certain things: power, control, ego, all of these things. So that's my download today, folks. Hope you found it interesting. If you did, I'd really appreciate a comment. Please tell me what you think. If you think I've missed a trick, if there's a piece of content I can create for you that might be useful. Equally, if you found this content useful, or you think someone who feels alone right now or trapped might find it useful, please share this content. Thanks guys for listening, and I'll see you again soon. Hey Internet, I'm Simon Squibb, your host at the Good Luck Club podcast. Our mission is to help anybody out there that's thinking of starting a business do just that. Equally, if you've started a business and are struggling, maybe you need a little bit of inspiration and knowledge. And we hope by interviewing some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs and change makers that you'll get the knowledge you need to become the person you want and turn your business into that dream company. I personally have started 17 companies from scratch and have invested in over 65 startups. I left school at 15 with near zero education and was able to retire at 40. And when I sat down and analysed how I did it, I discovered a secret. It was all luck. So in each episode, I'm here to tell you, in my opinion, no matter what you're building, shipping, or thinking, without luck, it ain't gonna work. Each week, I will discuss with my guests this theory and test it and see if luck is a skill as I feel it is, and if it's possible to pass it on to the next generation of entrepreneurs. I hope you enjoy our episode this week.